Hello everyone, welcome to Physics online classes for class 11 students. Let us continue chapter 7, System of Particles and Rigid Body. So this is the last session of this chapter. In this last session, we are going to study about rotational kinematics and dynamics. So let us start the class. So comparison of linear and rotational motion. We already studied about the terms related to linear motion in the chapter laws of motion, and also we studied in motion in a straight line. And the terms related to rotational motion we have studied in the chapter system of particles and rigid body. So let us compare linear and rotational motion terms. So we can observe one by one. The first column is related to linear motion. Second column is related to rotational motion about a fixed axis. Yes, the first term is displacement. So you can observe displacement, velocity, acceleration. So what is displacement? The shortest distance between any 2 points. Displacement is denoted by x, or sometimes we can write s. And what is velocity? Rate of change of displacement is called velocity, and velocity is denoted by v. So v equal to, we can write the equation rate of change of displacement means we can write in terms of dx divided by dt, right? Then third term is acceleration. So it is rate of change of velocity is called acceleration, and it is denoted by a. So the equation we can write here dv divided by dt. Displacement, velocity, acceleration. These three terms we can use only when object has linear motion. Suppose if the object is fixed to axis of rotation, when we applied torque, then it will get rotational motion instead of linear. So in those cases, which term we have to use? Yes. So the first term we can use angular displacement, second one angular velocity, third one angular acceleration. Angular displacement, angular velocity, angular acceleration. This is related to rotational motion or circular motion, or when object is moving in a circular path, we go for these three terms. So angular displacement is denoted by theta. Is how to define angular displacement? It is angle described by the particle about the axis of rotation, and it is denoted by theta. It is measured in terms of radian. Then second term angular velocity denoted by omega. And what is angular velocity? Rate of change of angular displacement is called angular velocity. It is denoted by omega. So the equation is d theta divided by dt, rate of change of angular displacement, and its SI unit is radian per second. Then third term angular acceleration, it is denoted by alpha, and it is defined as a rate of change of angular velocity is called angular acceleration. So the equation is alpha equal to d omega divided by dt, and its SI unit is radian per second square. So we have to use these three terms for rotational motion, right? Then come to the fourth term. Here for linear motion, we are using the word mass. Is it clear? So mass is a measure of inertia. Is it clear? But in rotational motion, instead of mass, we have to consider moment of inertia, which is denoted by I. Is it clear? Mass is a measure of inertia. So mass is equal to inertia. Inertia means opposition offered by the object. How much it is opposing, that is depending on mass of the object. So we are going to consider mass in linear motion, moment of inertia in rotational motion. Moment of inertia is denoted by I, and it is given by the equation I equal to mr square. So we have studied about moment of inertia in the last session. The product of total mass of a rigid body and square of perpendicular distance between axis of rotation and center of mass. R is also called as radius of gyration. So for linear, we considered mass, and for rotational motion, we considered moment of inertia. Then fifth term, for linear motion, we applied force F equal to ma. For rotational motion, we have to apply torque. Torque is also called as moment of force, and the equation is given by tau equal to I alpha. You can observe both the equations. F equal to ma here. In place of F, we can write tau. Tau equal to. Here they had written mass, m into a. F equal to ma. So mass is major here for linear. For rotational, instead of mass, we have to consider moment of inertia. And in place of acceleration, we have to write angular acceleration alpha. So tau equal to I alpha for rotational motion, F equal to ma for linear motion. Then next term, work. So work is denoted by W, or small work is dW equal to F into ds. The product of force and displacement is called work done. For rotational motion, how to write the equation? You can observe work W equal to, in place of force, we have to write torque. In place of displacement, we have to write angular displacement. So the equation becomes W equal to tau into d theta. This is for small work done dW. Then seventh term, kinetic energy you already studied, and the equation is given by half mv square. Right? Kinetic energy for rotational motion, what is the equation? So just in place of mass, we have to write moment of inertia. In place of velocity v, we have to write angular velocity omega. Remaining is same. So again the equation is half I omega square. This is for rotational motion. Then eighth term, power. Power is a product of force and velocity. You already studied. So force and velocity, this is for linear motion. For rotational motion, in place of force, we can write torque. In place of velocity, we can write angular velocity omega. So power P equal to tau into omega. This is for rotational motion. Then last term, ninth one, linear momentum is given by P equal to mv. Angular momentum is given by L equal to I omega. In place of mass, moment of inertia. In place of velocity, we have to write angular velocity L equal to I omega. So remember, all these equations are very helpful when you are going to solve numerical problems and also in multiple choice questions in your competitive examination. So when it is linear motion, go for the left column. When you go for rotational motion, go for right column. So all these equations are very important. So first you understand the concept, then it is easy to remember all these equations. Kinetic energy of translation motion. You already studied about kinetic energy in the chapter work energy power, right? You already derived the equation. The same equation I am going to derive again, but this is for translational motion. Yes, what is the kinetic energy? Kinetic energy means it is energy possessed by motion. It is due to motion of the object. But here I am going to consider a rigid body. Consider a rigid body, and this rigid body consisting of large number of particles, and each particles are having masses m1, m2, m3, so on up to n number of particle, we can write mn. And all these particles are having linear velocity. So these all are having linear velocity. So linear velocity for translational motion is the same. So we can take it as velocity v. So each particle is having same velocity because it is a translational motion. So velocity we can take it as vector v. Then how to write total kinetic energy or kinetic energy of each particle? So kinetic energy of first particle. How to write kinetic energy of a first particle? So we can write kinetic energy K equal to, what is the equation? Half mv square. But for first particle, m1v square. Because v is the same for all the particle. Then kinetic energy of second particle. How to write the equation for second particle? Same, kinetic energy equal to half m2v square. And so on up to how much? N number of particle. So kinetic energy of nth particle. So we can write the equation kinetic energy K equal to half mn v square, because velocity is the same for all the particle. So now I want total kinetic energy of rigid body, because rigid body contains n number of particle. So I want total kinetic energy. So we can write K equal to, so how to write total kinetic energy? Sum of kinetic energy of each particle. So the first particle is half m1 v square plus second particle half m2 v square up to n number of particle half mn v square. This is kinetic energy of each particle. We are going to add all the kinetic energy, that gives total kinetic energy. Or this equation can also be written as K equal to, so 1 by 2 is common, v square is common in each equation, remaining is what? m1 plus m2 and so on up to mn. So we can write kinetic energy equal to half v square. Keep as it is, mass of each particle, that gives a total mass m. So we can write half m v square. So that gives kinetic energy of translational motion. What it indicates? Kinetic energy of translational motion is K equal to half mv square. Kinetic energy is depending on mass of a rigid body and also its linear velocity. So this is the equation for kinetic energy of translational motion, right? So the body, if it is having greater mass, then it has greater inertia. So if it is having greater inertia, then greater kinetic energy is required to overcome it. So more energy is required when it opposes more. It opposes more when the object is having more mass. So this is the equation for kinetic energy of translational motion. This is for rigid body, right? Then kinetic energy of rotational motion. So because rigid body has two types of motion. What are those two types of motion? Translational motion and rotational motion. Now you studied translational motion, but now we can study about rotational motion. Yes. Now in rotational motion, first I am going to consider a rigid body. So let us consider this is a rigid body of any shape you can take here. And this rigid body is fixed to axis of rotation xy. Xy is axis of rotation. Let us take this is a point. Now let us consider this rigid body is having only 3 particles. For calculation purpose, I am going to consider only 3 particles. The first particle is here, second particle is here, and third particle is here. So when we applied force or torque on this rigid body, it starts to rotate, right? So these particles are having linear velocities. So the first particle is moving with velocity. We can consider it is moving with velocity v1. Second particle is moving with velocity v2. Third particle is moving with velocity v3. And these particles are having distances from the center or from the center of the axis. From point O, the first particle is at distance r1, second particle is at distance r2, third particle is at distance r3. r1, r2, r3, these are position vector of 3 particles. We can take it as P, Q and R. These particles are having velocity v1, v2, v3, and in rotational motion, linear velocity for each particle is different. Is it clear? Now, yes, observe here, we considered a rigid body. This rigid body is rotating about an axis xy. This xy axis is passing through the point O. Let the particles P, Q, R having masses m1, m2, m3. These are at the distances r1, r2, r3 from the axis of rotation. Now these are moving with velocities v1, v2 and v3. Now I am going to write kinetic energy of each particle. Observe here. The first particle, when these particles start to rotate, it will get kinetic energy because kinetic energy is due to motion. So kinetic energy of the first particle. Kinetic energy of first particle is P. Kinetic energy of P. So why we got kinetic energy? It is because of rotation. Kinetic energy of P due to rotation, it is given by the equation. What is the equation for kinetic energy? General equation is K equal to half mv square. This equation we can use here. Half m1 in place of m, I can write m1 because it is about first particle, and velocity is v1 square. Half m1 v1 square, or this equation also can be written as half m1 keep as it is. In place of v1, we have the formula v equal to r omega. This equation we can utilize here. In place of v1 square, I am going to write r1 because r1 is position of the first particle. And omega is the same for all the particles here because it is having rotational motion. So r1 omega whole square, or we can write it as simply r1 square omega square. So the equation we got m1 r1 square omega square. Similarly, for second particle, kinetic energy of particle 2, that is Q particle, due to rotation is given by the equation half m2 v2 square, but in place of v we can write r omega, so the equation becomes m2 r2 square omega square. Remember, in rotational motion, linear velocity is different and angular velocity is constant. Similarly, for third particle r, this is due to rotation, we can write the formula half m3 v3 square. In place of v, we can write m3 keep as it is. In place of v3, we can write r3 square omega square, and so on up to n number of particle. So if you want to write a total kinetic energy of a rigid body, total kinetic energy of a rigid body, we can write the equation sum of kinetic energy of each particle half m1 r1 square omega square plus half m2 r2 square omega square, and so on up to n number of particle mn rn square omega square. This is for total kinetic energy of a rigid body, or it can be written as kinetic energy equal to, so which is common here? Half is common, and then omega square is common. Remaining is what? We can write m1 r1 square plus m2 r2 square, so on up to mn rn square. Now kinetic energy K equal to half omega square keep as it is. Instead of writing m1 r1 m2 r2, so we can write in terms of summation. So sigma mi ri square, where I equal to 1 to n. In this form we can write, or it can also be written as K equal to half omega square keep as it is. So instead of writing summation of mi, we can write total mass m. Instead of writing summation of ri, we can write total positions of center of mass, that is radius of gyration, mr square. So what is mr square? We know that I equal to mr square, that gives moment of inertia. So the equation becomes half omega square into I. Or we can write kinetic energy K equal to half I omega square. So this is the equation for rotational motion. For translational motion, we have half mv square. For rotational motion, we can write half I omega square. So this derivation carries 3 marks for your board examination. K equal to half I omega square, where I is moment of inertia and omega is angular velocity. Then kinematics of rotational motion about a fixed axis. Equations of rotational motion. So we already studied equations for linear motion. You can remember these equations. V equal to u plus at, s equal to ut plus half at square, v square equal to u square plus 2as. So these are equations of linear motion you already studied. But now the same equations I am going to write, but for rotational motion. You can observe following are the equations of motion of rotational motion. The first equation. You can compare with linear motion and rotational motion. In linear motion, we have v equal to u plus at. Final velocity equal to initial velocity plus acceleration into time. So same like in rotational motion, we can write angular velocity omega equal to omega naught plus alpha t. Angular acceleration, angular velocity we have to consider for rotational motion. Similarly, s equal to ut plus half at square. Instead of s, we have to write theta. Theta equal to omega naught t plus half alpha t square. Same equations. Here we considered linear equations. Here I am going to consider angular equations. Then last equation, v square equal to u square plus 2as. Here we can write omega square equal to omega naught square plus 2 alpha theta minus theta naught, or simply you can write theta. That is change in displacement. So these are the equations for rotational motion. So what is theta? Theta is angular displacement. Omega is final angular velocity. Omega naught is initial angular velocity. Change these value. And alpha is angular acceleration. T is time. Is it clear? So these are equations of rotational motion. These three equations are very important for numerical problems and also for multiple choice questions. Then last part of this chapter, law of conservation of angular momentum. You already studied law of conservation of linear momentum in the chapter laws of motion. Likewise here it is law of conservation of angular momentum. So what is the principle of law of conservation of angular momentum? So if no net external torque acting on a body, then its angular momentum remains constant in both magnitude and direction. If torque is not applied on a body, then there is no rotational motion. So its quantity of motion or angular momentum remains constant both in magnitude and direction. Or it can also be stated that the total angular momentum of an isolated system remains constant. Isolated system means the system which is not in contact with surrounding. Is it clear? Isolated system. So for this isolated system, angular momentum remains constant, just like the law of conservation of linear momentum. Either you can remember the first statement or you can remember the second statement, both are same. If torque is not applied, then angular momentum of the body remains constant. Or for isolated system, angular momentum is always constant. This is law of conservation of angular momentum principle, right? Then, so if torque is not applied, we already studied relation between torque and angular momentum. What is the relation? So tau equal to dl divided by dt. According to the principle of angular momentum, if torque is 0, then the equation becomes dl divided by dt equal to 0. Then angular momentum remains constant. The same concept we are using here. dl by dt equal to torque external. Torque external, if the external torque applied on a body is 0, if you are not going to apply any torque, then this change in angular momentum remains constant. L remains constant, angular momentum remains constant. So angular momentum is given by the equation L equal to I omega. So I omega remains constant. Remember, linear momentum is given by P equal to mv. Angular momentum is given by, in place of mass, we have to write moment of inertia. In place of velocity, we have to write angular velocity. So this is the equation for angular momentum. So angular momentum L remains constant, or we can write I omega remains constant. So what it indicates? When no external torque is acting on a body, means the torque equal to 0. Then angular velocity is increased or decreased by increasing or decreasing moment of inertia. So what it indicates here? When a torque is 0, then angular velocity omega is increasing or omega is decreasing. That is depending on increasing decreasing of moment of inertia. So this is all about law of conservation of angular momentum. Then I will give you some example. You can observe the first example, a skater doing a spin on the ice, rotating at a relatively low speed when she stretches her arms. When she is stretching her arm and leg outward, then her speed is very low. But when she folds her arms and brings stretched leg closer, she suddenly spins faster. So you can observe the speed here. When she stretches her arms and legs outward, speed is less. When she folds her arms and stretching her legs very closer, then her speed increases. So why it happened? It is all because of a law of conservation of momentum. So that indicates if moment of inertia increases, then angular velocity decreases, because moment of inertia means it is just like opposition. When opposition increases, speed decreases. If opposition decreases, speed increases, right? So to keep angular momentum constant, if I increases, omega decreases. If I decreases, omega increases. Automatically, angular momentum remains constant. And remember, when a skater is skating on the ice, remember, for low speed, she or he should stretch her legs and arm. So velocity decreases, moment of inertia increases. If she fold her complete body, her arms and legs, if she fold very closer, then momentum decreases and angular velocity increases. Right? Then, second example, angular velocity of a planet revolving in an elliptical orbit around the sun increases when it comes closer to the sun, because radius decreases, I also decreases, hence omega increases. So when a planet comes very close to the sun, if a planet is very close to the sun, radius decreases. When radius decreases, moment of inertia also decreases, because moment of inertia is given by the equation I equal to mr square. When r decreases, then moment of inertia also decreases. When moment of inertia decreases, then omega increases, angular velocity increases. When it is far away from the sun, radius increases, moment of inertia increases, and its speed decreases. Third example, a diver rotates faster when arms and legs are tucked in than when outstretched. So you can observe, if the man he is going to fold his complete body, a diver rotates faster. Here he is rotating faster. His arms and legs are tucked in, means he is going to fold it. In these cases, moment of inertia decreases, radius decreases, speed is increasing, he is jumping very faster. But here he is going to stretch his body completely outside. So here moment of inertia increases, and so that speed decreases. So he is diving slowly. So faster for less moment of inertia, and his speed is very less for more moment of inertia. So these are some example for angular momentum. For law of conservation of angular momentum, remember, total angular momentum of an isolated system remains constant, and generally we are using the equation I1 omega 1 is equal to I2 omega 2. So before jumping, after jumping, angular momentum remains constant. Is it clear? So this is all about law of conservation of angular momentum, and also we studied kinetic energy of translational motion and rotational motion. So this completes the chapter system of particles and rigid body. So this is very important topic. You should remember each term in detail so that it will be very helpful for multiple choice questions, and also it will be helpful for your second year syllabus. So in the next session, we go for numerical problems.